So today in the shop, we really lucked out big time. It wasn't supposed to be this nice. In the afternoon, the sun came out, it went above freezing, and I was able to take full advantage of a wonderful day to paint. I planned out in the shop some of the projects that were available to do, and I decided to clear. I didn't want to waste a day. A day like this comes very rarely. And anyway, it did go above freezing. We waited it out. We did all our shopping in the morning. I mixed up the clear, went outside, did the first of the two parts, and I was so happy the way the paint was flowing. I did the second part. And then I was even more happy. I had a cup of coffee, put a second coat on everything, and by the end of the day, I was so happy. I was just a happy camper. There's always one thing great about this time of year. You never have to worry about Groundhog Days. Oh, every day is totally different. Now, of course, our days hinge because we're weather slaves. Every day I have to make a plan for if it's going to be a paintable day, a no paintable day. Does Karen want to go shopping? Do we have to buy parts from Partzilla? Or blah, 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 blah. But today is going to be real easy because, number one, it's 20 degrees now, but it's supposed to go above freezing very soon. And maybe this afternoon we'll be able to get some of the clear on the DUCATI part that we worked on yesterday. And by the way, I hope you enjoyed those pictures of that church in Kyiv, Russia. Wow, that's on yesterday's video at the end. And I have more of that. I have a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to put together a whole video of Russia. That may be coming soon. If we get snowed in, it may be coming sooner than I want. And to all our friends down south and in Texas that are getting hammered with this record low, all the windmills are frozen, and we have several friends in Texas and Louisiana, and Ray in Florida said they didn't get anything. They're home free all. So I don't know. We're kind of lucky, but tomorrow is going to be another big storm coming through. So my goal today would be, Karen has some things to do. We try to get that done in the morning, of course. Hopefully it'll warm up by 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And maybe, this is a real big maybe, we'll get that clear on the DUCATI part that already has the decals. And then while we're snowed in, we'll have other projects to work on. I've already lined up 2 or 3 other projects for the GS. But having that'll be a good milestone, because at that milestone then what's going to happen, we're waiting for the decals to come from Australia. And you know, the kangaroos could be on strike. But as I'm always used to doing with these projects, there's always the project at hand, there's always the project waiting to dry, and there's always the project, this is going to be our next project, the front wheel. I got some back parts. I'm I'm asking Vlad, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet. I want to get a different sprocket for the, this bike already has a 530 chain conversion, so it's not a common thing to get the back sprocket I want. He's researching that out for me. I'm sure he'll find it, or if he doesn't find it, we'll just polish this one up. But there's other parts on this bike that I want to polish up at the same time. My goal is when springtime comes, have the black wheels on, have new polished parts, have it oil changed and ready to go, because usually in the course of a summer we do a lot of long rides on the GS. Now sadly, one thing that did not happen at the end of last year, before we got snowed in fact we were snowed in, we wanted to get a real test ride on this. We did a lot of work on this at the end of the year. Looks like it's going to be waiting till springtime. I don't think we're going to be riding for another month. And one of the issues is I wanted to replace this sprocket if I could get another one, but these are 42 teeth. I wanted to get a 40 tooth so it would lower the gearing a little bit for some nice high-speed cruising without working the engine too hard. If I can't, I'll get a stock sprocket, but I'm sure Vlad will come up with something eventually. But this one, it's got a lot of miles on it, and it's because this bike has I took the whole conversion kit on. It's got a 530 chain, not a 630. The 630 chain is what comes stock, so getting those parts is a little more difficult than just getting stock parts. And while I'm out here flipping battery chargers, I can't forget that, wow, how this MT-09 changed my whole summer last year. What an unexpected thing that was. And that is for sure, we are going to get a lot of miles on it this summer. So the bottom line is, for me, I try to stay busy. I try to stay productive. I try to do mitzvahs for people that I think appreciate them. But the biggest thing is, and it's this way every day, Karen has a list of stuff we have to do, and probably we're going to do that first, because that gives us the chance that it'll warm up this afternoon. Get out of the 20s. And just yesterday I saw one of the fish poke his nose up. Well, there's no fish poking his nose up today. That when the ice is that thick and it's this cold, I don't know how they survive. It's amazing they hibernate, but I have to keep that hole in the ice. That's the #1 job in this cold weather. So after some nice coffee, back down in the shop, looking at the quality, the way this wheel worked out, I'm sure there are some people that are thinking, that might look good on a GS. But we'll still have the set of gold wheels when we're done. It's an evil twin. This has been under the heating vent also. Now, when we get back from our adventures today and shopping and getting ready for the storm, I'll pull that off. Then I'll just have to wipe the whole part down with a tack rag. And if it's appropriate and it's above freezing, I can get a coat of clear on that. That will then give me exactly the color match to this part, hopefully. And, well, everything we do with this job, it's like, well, there's step 1 and step 2. But what's going to happen, ultimately, we'll be stalled out until we get the decals. And the decals are a big part of this job. They're coming from Australia. I'm looking at that part. All the work I put into that part, it's all paying off right now. But here's the good news. Because we're probably going to be snowed in for a couple of days, I'll have this part to work on, refurbish that. I'm thinking of polishing this whole inside up, getting this ready. And, well, I'm not going to be able to do much with the muffler, but luckily we came out of this. I still have a couple of spoonfuls of red paint, but I hope I don't need it. I hope we're pretty much done with the red paint because it looks like that's going to be a pretty good match. But I'll know more at the end of the day if I can get that clear on this afternoon when it warms up. And I can put the 2 parts side by side. And then Joe can come over. And, well, he'll come over when he has the decals and give me the okay or the that he's going to buy some more paint. So what I want to do before I actually go out on the trip with Karen is get this whole tack rag down. What's going to happen when we get back, I don't know what the weather's going to be, but I want to be prepped up if possible. This would be a major thing to have the clear on this drying while we're snowed in, because once we're snowed in, painting will be at a minimum. So as Karen always says, it's pretty much time to, Elvis Presley used to say, TCB. Take care of business. As we slither out of the driveway here, oh my God, more snow coming, just what I need. Now, early in the day, it's warmed up to 26 degrees. It'll look like we'd definitely be able to paint this afternoon. It's coming up quickly. Well, but there's just still snow everywhere, no matter where you look. Unbelievable. What a winter this has been. And boy, how bad it is for the people down south and in Texas. Wow. What could be more fun than shopping at Aldi? Shopping during senior citizen hours. We only have the whole store to ourselves. It is really like life after people here. Senior citizen hour. All right, let it snow. We got enough food. We'll survive like Shackleton in Antarctica. Yeah. It is pretty funny. We're just getting home from our errands here, and look, it couldn't be any better. It's coming up on, by the time we have lunch, we'll be ready to paint. So we're finally back from a long day of shopping. Our parts are prepped. We're going to mix up some clear and maybe get some clear on both of the parts. Let's see how this day plays out. It's just coming up on being over freezing now. And this is the clear we've been using for this job, and on our black wheel we did one coat with this. And it's this Luciano had the original one, and we did his Kawasaki gas tank, and all of the projects we've done have come out great. So we are up above freezing. The only thing we're going to have to contend with here is a little bit of breeze, but I think I'm going to move the table sideways just to make this a little bit easier for this port. But as everything's melting up, boy, what a day. And I know tomorrow is going to be with no painting tomorrow. So I think we'll just have an extra cup of coffee just to make sure that this day goes off as planned. And when you have a big job to do on a freezing cold day, that's the answer right there, supercharged. I might have mentioned this before, but I always keep the tip to the clear gun and a jar of acetone. Before I spray anything, I want to hold this up to the light, see if I can There's 8 little tiny holes in there. I don't want any of them clogged up. And the mix ratio on this material is 4:1. And we want to stir it for 2 minutes after we have everything in the gun. I also try to always include the tip when stirring anything 2-part. And some paints it's not critical, some it is, but there are paints that the wood, if you stir it with a paint stick, the wood absorbs some of the catalyst. Some of the resins I've used over the years have that problem, and you basically have a batch of material that's not up to spec. That's a good tip, by the way. Now, as I'm painting here, it's easier for me to just show this and fast forward. One of the things to be very, very aware of is I'm putting on dry coats, going back over and over, with a gun that's set at a very low pressure setting. And I'm trying, at this point in time, just to get a very low coat on, a tack coat. I don't want to take any chance getting any runs or any problems with the paint. The first coat just needs to go on nice and smooth. Now, I thought I'd put some good information on the video. If you're painting in cold weather, a couple of things will make it a lot easier. Is you'll notice when I spray the gun, I don't point it at the part and let it start spraying and then work my way over to the part, do whatever I have to do, and then release the trigger. The reason is, in really cold weather, the paint tends to stick. You get a little glob of paint, and what happens, you point the gun here and go, and you get a glob of paint. Now, I think you can see pretty much how this laid out. This is the first coat. I put the spray out in fast forward. I'm doing it dry. In other words, this is not a wet coat. A wet coat, you don't need it in cold weather, because what happens, the cold weather lets the paint just dry at a slower rate, and it usually gives it a little more gloss. It's actually an advantage to paint in cold weather. Now, just to mention a few things, that part where that brush repair was, this part here, this part up here, that was all broken, and this part in here right under the blinkers, and the paint match, I'm looking with every bit of power I can in the brightest sun to see if I can see where the match is, where it started, where it stopped, and I can't. So I'm just guessing, it's my wild guess, that we have a really, really good paint match here. And I'm really impressed with how nice this part came out. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm trying to take advantage of this day. I'm going to take the other part out, put this one in the garage, let it dry about a half hour, 45 minutes, then put a second coat on. In the meantime, I can bring the other part out, because this is an exceptional day. I want to take advantage of this. Put the part and just get an extra coat of clear on it. It'll help seal that new paint. The other part is brand new paint. This is half new paint, half old paint. So this is the one I was afraid it wasn't going to match. Joe, I got to tell you, the match is awesome. Okay, first coat in the garage drying, and by the time I get the other part sprayed out, this will be ready for the second coat. If we get 2 coats on both parts, this will be an amazing day. That paint match is, I'm looking for it and I can't find where one paint ends and the other one begins, and that is really difficult to do, especially with red or yellow. Here we are in fast forward again, listening to the church bells. Boy, You know, we live right in the Bermuda Triangle of churches, so a lot of times I'm painting and you hear the church bells going off in 3 different churches. It's really nice. Anyway, this is the other part. This is the part that has a lot of body work on it, and I was anxious to see how this was going to play out. Of course, we can't go any further on this than get some clear on it until we get the decals. And the kangaroos are busy running across Australia now, delivering those decals.
All right, this was the primary part with all the repairs down in this area. It looks pretty good to me. But of course, Joe is the client. We'll find out. But I think the paint match, the biggest thing I had to worry about in this job was the paint match. And I think the paint match is solved. Now, we still have to get the decals. We hope those decals come from Australia. Well, I don't know where else you're going to be able to get them. But boy, have we taken advantage of a beautiful afternoon for painting. That just couldn't be any better.
Now we're going to take a little break, and we're going to definitely get a second coat on this today. Wow, this stuff, this is going to dry up beyond belief. This is really, we are just taking advantage of a really wonderful day. I had no idea. I know tomorrow it's supposed to snow, but we'll take this one and put it in the bank. So in the middle of this winter, who knew we're going to have these 2 or 3 painting days? One of them I used on the wheel, and here I'm using today up and on to get both parts in clear. This was just an amazing thing to me that we had this break in the weather, because in the past I've not had these kind of days back to back that I could get this amount of work done. And this was a really nice treat to have in the middle of the winter, to have a day this nice that you could paint. So to me, this is like the flight of the Phoenix. At these parts, I don't think you could make these parts a whole lot better. This part has a lot of repairs on it. If you've been bored to tears watching me fix paint chips and cracks and reinforce things, see, in the beginning of every job, what happens is this really gets frustrating. You think it's never going to end. Oh man, when am I going to ever see some results? But then on a day like today, when you get to put the final coat of, well, maybe not the final coat of clear. We'll see if this is going to dry out the way we want. But absolutely right now, that absolutely looks... I would not have believed that would be possible the day Joe brought the part over here. But all of the things we did to it, it looks like they all work to perfection.
Now as I'm starting the last coat on the second part, the sun has gone behind the clouds, and it has that look of we're getting ready for a big snowstorm, which they predicted overnight. Boy, this is so low. Joe, I can't tell you how happy I am to get this in the garage. You're going to be a happy camper.
As I'm finishing up the second coat here and fast forward, you cannot imagine the satisfaction you get. At this point, I've been on this job, oh my God, 2 or 3 weeks, and all the repair, all of the things that lead up to it, and it just came out great. It's hard to describe the satisfaction of having these ports look as good as they are. I have really got a lot of time and energy invested in these, and I'm so happy they came out the way they did. Wow. To me, this is like an amazing thing. And I'm sure Joe appreciates it. I hope there's been some stuff you could pick up off the video to be, well, who knows, if you're a painter, you probably know a lot more than me anyway. But battlefront conditions, freezing cold. I've tried to put some tips that'll be useful on the video if you have to paint in these conditions. And if you don't, if you have a body shop at your disposal, or Billy Joel's checkbook or whatever, even better. Anyway, but we're able to do this. This is our thing. We've been able to bring the flight of the Phoenix back. It's back. Joe, you're back. All that can go wrong now is that the decals don't get here. But in the meantime, this is going to be drying, curing up. It couldn't be any better. And then we'll decide how we want to play it from this point. That could vary, that could change, but this will sit in the garage overnight. I'll bring it into the cellar tomorrow when it's fully cured. It should cure up beautifully in this temperature. I don't see anything in here that would make me not happy. So anyway, I want to thank the healthcare workers. Thank you guys. It allows me to do this and allows me to be alive, to go out with Karen shopping, to hang out with the puppy, whatever. And I want to thank you guys, seriously, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. And I hope you've picked up some good information. I hope you enjoy watching the videos. And thank you guys so much for watching. Now, I always like to end a very wonderful and productive day. We're doing this project for Joe. Joe also has, I thought this would be a good time to share some really old pictures of our GS, which we've had since 1982. It's a one owner. I've made a lot of custom parts over the years. I've evil twinned it out with 2 different sets of body work. I actually have 2 of them. Among the parts I've made were this seat and some carbon fiber mufflers that lasted about 9 years before that carbon deteriorated. I wasn't using the good quality resin back then in the day. And because I've gone on a lot of really long rides with this bike, I've really enjoyed it. And I've really enjoyed making some of the custom parts and doing some of the evil twin work on the bike over the years. But the biggest thing is, it's just a good bike. It's a bike that in the morning when you go out to the garage and you look at all the bikes, you just look around and you say, you know, gee, I'm going to take the GS. And many times, you know, even back in the day when I was building model planes and I was competing on an international level, I really totally would come back even from a model plane tournament and jump on a GS and go for a ride. And having had it since '82, it's a real comfortable friend. It's really a good friend. Now, these wheels that I'm making are going to allow me to evil twin it out even to the next level. And I have so many spare parts for it, so many brake discs, wheels, engine parts. But the biggest thing of all, the biggest thing is it has just been a wonderful bike for so many years, dead reliable, always a good friend, always fun to ride. So I hope you did enjoy the video. And as we end it, I'm looking back at this. This was one very special day. And as we fade to black, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks so much for watching.